This video will focus on developmental theory of learning, which was propounded by Jean Piaget. This video will focus on the meaning of the following: schema, cognitive structure, assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration. These are the important terminologies pertaining to Jean Piaget's developmental theory of learning. Starting with the schema, these are the mental images that we humans carry in our brain. As and when we get exposed to various experiences, we keep on creating mental images of different things. Imagine a child. It has for the first time come out of its home. For the first time, it is exposed to the external environment. It is experiencing something new. It is seeing new people, new creatures, and it is listening to too many different sounds. As it is experiencing something new, it comes across a thing which has 4 legs, 1 tail, and it makes barking sound. Parents are saying it is dog. The child creates a mental image of it. The more it gets exposed to different things, the more mental images gets created in its brain. It could be of people, animals, toys, vehicles, etc. All the different schemas categorized under different names such as people, animals, toys, vehicles, etc. forms the cognitive structure of the child. Cognitive structure is made up of different schemas taken together. It is like a big book rack of variety of different topics in a library called brain. Now again, imagine the child. As time goes by, the child sees a cow. As per its thinking capacity, since it has 4 legs and a tail, it concludes it has dog. But suddenly the cow moves. The child that is seeing and listening to it enters into a mental state of imbalance, thinking, wait a second, it is not barking, there is no bow wow, it is different, it is too big too, not like what my parents told is dog. What is this then? After a while, it learns that it is animal only, but a different one named cow. Now, mentally, it calms down. It got its answer, so it comes to a state of peace. Assimilation is a process where the unfamiliar schema is made familiar by linking it to the familiar schema. At the end of assimilation process, there is a new schema that has got created. In the illustration, it is the image of the cow, a new schema. Now, there is creation of another book in the shelf pertaining to animals, which is named as cow. This is accommodation. Assimilated schema becoming part of us is accommodation. Equilibration. The child's new experience in which it is thinking too much. What the hell is this? It is not like the dog, is a state of disequilibrium. As and when it tries to know and finally succeeds in knowing the answer and concludes, okay? This is another category of animal called cow. It is bigger in size than the dogs and moves. The child reaches the mental state of peace and regains its equilibrium. When the new schemas involved in the problematic situation are assimilated and accommodated, the disequilibrium disappears and equilibrium regains. This is called equilibration. Developmental Theory of Learning by Jean Piaget. These are the 4 stages in this theory: sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operations, formal operations. Let's begin with the first stage, the sensory motor stage. It comprises of the time period from birth to approximately 2 years. At this stage of life, the infant perceives the world through all the sense organs and its motor abilities. That is the movement that an infant at this stage is capable of making. And the only behavior that exists is the innate behavior, a behavior with which it is born. And this helps it to learn about the surroundings. There are totally 6 substages of sensory motor stage. Reflexes, primary circular actions, secondary circular reactions, coordination of secondary circular reactions, tertiary circular reactions, and symbolic representation. The first substage comprises the duration from birth to 1 month. It is called reflexes. The infant exhibits reflexes or movements that help it to live or survive. The second substage from 1 to 4 months is called primary circular actions. During this stage, the infant gains some control over its body and indulges in moving its hands, legs, turning, etc. It exhibits few actions and repeats them. The next substage, that is the secondary circular reactions, from 4 to 8 months, the infant develops curiosity towards many things. Example, it develops curiosity towards bottle, toy, remote, mobile, etc. It learns it can control the objects near it, but it is not aware of the relationship between action and consequences. Like if it gets mother's mobile, out of curiosity, it might hold it, press it, look at it, bang it on the floor, or even throw it. But banging and throwing might cause it to break does not cross its mind. The fourth substage, the coordination of secondary circular reactions. This stage comprises of exhibition of goal-directed behavior. It gets the idea about cause and effect relationship and object permanence. That is, an idea that the object continues to exist somewhere else, although right now it is not in front of it. The fifth substage, tertiary circular reactions, 12 to 18 months. At this stage, the understanding of cause and effect relationship and object permanence grows stronger. By the end of sixth stage, the infant is able to mentally represent the objects. They develop to mentally correlate objects, action, and consequences. Then they decide their course of action. Example, if it has a ball, before throwing it, it will think if it throws towards TV, what will be the consequence? It knows by now that TV might get damaged and it might be scolded for it. Hence, it will decide to throw it somewhere else. Continuing with the developmental theory of learning by Jean Piaget. Pre-operational stage. This is the second stage in Jean Piaget's developmental theory of learning. These are the features pertaining to this stage. Symbolic functioning. The child starts to represent one thing with the help of another thing. Example, it might use any kind of rectangular object as mobile and pretend speaking over it. They start to understand the connection between language, actions, and objects. Egocentrism. It refers to the ability to think only from one's own angle and inability to think from others' point of view. Jean Piaget showed this through an activity using the 3D model of mountain. You can imagine the picture of 6 and 9 in which both fail to consider the opposite person's viewpoint. They fail to see that others' viewpoint might be different and think that the other person might also be right from wherever they are standing. No conservation. The child's decision at this stage depends more on appearance than on logic. This is explained through the simple experiment wherein there had been kept two glasses, first one being the short and broad, and the second one long and thin. Which one has more water? The child responded, second glass, the one which is long and thin, because it looks taller. Piaget says this happens due to three reasons: centration, irreversibility, and egocentrism. We know egocentrism is thinking only in one's own angle and not being able to think in terms of others' perspective. What is centration? Centration is the inability to focus on all the aspects of the problem or object. Like in the example of glass of water, the child only focused on the appearance of the glass, second being the taller, and concluded it has more water. But it could not focus on the aspect that glass one is broad and it can hold that much water too. Another reason for no conservation: irreversibility. Children cannot mentally reverse the action and think about the previous state of the object. If they see a house that is disorganized and things are fallen here and there on the floor, they won't be able to imagine the state in which everything is organized and things remained in their respective places. These are the main features of the pre-operational stage. Concrete operations comprising the age group 7 to 11 years. You can consider this stage as the stage opposite to the pre-operational stage. Children at this stage will be able to mentally reverse the course of actions, that is, reversibility develops. Decentration. They start looking at the multiple aspects of the same matter. Example, if a blank plus blank is equal to 10, the blanks could be occupied by 1 and 9, or 3 and 7, or 5 and 5, etc. They become less egocentric. That is, they are able to think from others' point of view at this stage. A unique feature of this stage being that they depend on concrete objects. It is difficult at this stage for them to imagine or mentally represent things. You can't just say there are 3 apples and 1 mango and ask totally how many fruits are there. Showing them real fruits or models of it creates more impact than verbal words. Hence, their understanding depends on concrete objects. They have to see the real or the model in order to understand. Formal operations. This is the final stage wherein you can notice the ability to think hypothetically. They are able to gauge the possibilities that might emerge in future. They think outside the box, or you can also say they develop their own unique and creative way of thinking in order to solve issues. They can think about abstract concepts. They don't need any concrete objects to understand. They will be able to create mental images of objects and situations in order to understand concepts and various aspects of the problems. They start thinking at a 360 angle. They develop considering all the aspects in order to arrive at the solutions. They think in a consistent way. They show the capability of scientific thinking.